first item is to consider the following amendments to Chapter 150 Land Usage. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Chris Anderson, Community Development Director for the city. Tonight we have four amendments to the zoning code and zoning map, respectively. And take the first of these. I think I can go over them all together or one by one. It's up to you.
You can do them all together, and if people have questions while you're going, we'll recognize them.
I think there may be other people that want to speak as well.
Okay.
The first of these amendments is to change the status of short-term rentals from special exceptions authorized by the commission to prohibited use. That's a pretty simple change in the code itself, moving that land use category from the one to the other. The reason for this, number one, it was requested by the Planning Commission following the series of hearings and appeals that we had for an Airbnb at 713 Cranford Drive, where there really was quite a bit of neighborhood opposition and some issues raised that I think were not fully raised when we first visited this issue about a year and a half ago. The bottom line, though, is that having it classified as a special exception is or would be appropriate if we had circumstances where such a use would fit in and go well. But it really has become clear that at the densities that we have in Forest Park and the relative proximity of neighbors, that this has been a disruptive change for where it has happened in Forest Park, and that's only a handful of places. But we've had, in addition to just some issues that would be a problem for any resident, it also, the coming and going of basically transient residents is something that sort of undermines the sense of security of the neighborhood. So the Planning Commission reviewed that change at their meeting last week and recommended by a vote of 6 in favor, 1 against, to recommend the change to the City Council. The second item is adding owners within 200 feet of a subject property to the properties that are required to be notified by mail. So right now we have a notification requirement for all our public hearings in zoning to send a public hearing notice by regular mail to the properties adjacent to the property under consideration. So that'd be next door on the left, next door on the right, behind, and then across the street. Across the street is only directly across the street, and there have been a couple of cases where somebody felt that they were affected by a proposal, but they weren't in that group that gets notified by mail. So we looked at this and did a survey of some peer cities in Ohio, found that the most common notification requirement was within a distance of 200 feet. And that, at a minimum in Forest Park, would mean at least 2 neighbors to the left and 2 to the right, and 3 across the street. And that's where we have our largest lots on Jonquil Meadow Drive. So that was my recommendation to the Planning Commission, and they subsequently voted to recommend that by a vote of 7-0. And that notification is sent by the city. So that's really a notification. This is a requirement on us to uh, give that extra notice to those additional property owners and residents. The next two items are map amendments, rezonings of property. And the first of these is rezoning.
Is that notice given to the people living there? Because sometimes if they're renters, is it given to the owner or to the resident?
It specifically states that it's to property owners. In the case of a commercial property, it may go to a tenant if that's all we have. But otherwise, no, it's property owner. So this third item is to rezone 15 and a half acres of land located at 12171 Omniplex Court from PB, which is the Planned Business District, to IP, which is the Industrial Park District. This property is the formerly, it started off as a Kmart property on Omniplex near Home Depot and CarMax. It was purchased several years ago after sitting vacant for about 7 years by a local investor, and he renovated the property and used part of it, about 40%, to open the Omni Funplex. And that's a recreational land use category. It's actually a special exception in the current planned business district, so it had to get special approval from the Planning Commission to open there. He could speak to himself to his experience in attempting to lease out the rest of the square footage of the building. But the owner brought us a proposal to rezone the property to IP in order to open a climate-controlled indoor self-storage facility in half the property. The other half would be reserved for expansion of the Omni Funplex. It happens that Paul Bram, our Economic Development Director, and I did look at this particular use, which has been, there's been a lot of inquiry and interest in opening such a facility in Forest Park. Yet, at one time I was getting inquiries at least monthly. It's been steady for since before his ownership of the property. And the upshot of that is that we looked at 7 areas in the city and evaluated them based upon their current zoning, their suitability for this use physically, the location, and a couple other factors. And this property was the one that we felt, if we were to have an indoor self-storage facility, would be the most appropriate location for it. And that's because the property sits at the back of the development. Altitude-wise, it sits low. It's blocked pretty much from view from the freeway by CarMax. And so it presents a difficult proposition for a retail use. Kmart itself, no matter where we had a Kmart, I think that we wouldn't have one now. I don't think anyone really does. So you can discount that a little bit, but there really has been nothing to follow Kmart. As I mentioned, the Omni Funplex is not a retail use. And one thing that people may not know is that in the IP district, which is proposed to be rezoned to, the entertainment use is a permitted use. And that dates back to when we had Surf Cincinnati, which had the same zoning. Its location was at the back of Sebring Drive. So the Planning Commission reviewed this, and after a fairly long discussion, they voted to recommend with some restrictions the rezoning from PB to IP. And that vote was 6-0. And it occurred in October. The final item is rezoning 35.1 acres located south of Waycross Road between Jonquil Meadow Drive and the Waterworks property. This is the property that's left over from the Waycross Reserve development. This property was promised by the developers to be donated to the Hamilton County Park District to add on to the acreage of Winton Woods. And that was pretty clear at the time. That was a promise, though. It wasn't something that was absolutely binding on them. So they have a potential deal to sell this property to another developer, and he has made application for a subdivision of 65 homes and for this rezoning, which the difference between R1 and R2, there are only a few. Both of them are single-family residential districts only as a primary permitted use. In the R1 district, you have a minimum lot size of half an acre. That's 20,000 square feet. In the R2, it's about a quarter of an acre, 12,000 square feet. In the R1, you have to have a 110-foot wide lot. And I'll note the only, aside from the recent Waycross Reserve subdivision, prior to that, the only development that had all 110-foot lots was on Jonquil Meadow Drive. Some of the areas of the city that are zoned R1 have lots that are pretty substantial in size, but not the 110 feet. And the R1 zoning district was expanded quite a bit in the 70s to all of the undeveloped land in the city. So the land that the mall sits on and Kemper Meadow and areas like that were all zoned R1 at one time. And it's clear from looking at the records that the intention was that zoning would be a placeholder, and that the council fully expected the owners to apply for rezoning. Another area where we have a mix of R1 and R2 is in Mill Road Station. The properties that are on Gaylord Drive and Woodbridge Court are zoned R1. The rest are zoned R2. So the majority of Mill Road Station is also zoned R2. The upshot of this is that I recommended to the Planning Commission that this be approved for rezoning. And the Planning Commission, again, voted 6-0 to recommend that City Council pass a rezoning. I mentioned that the subdivision plan that the developer had put forward had 65 lots. That's only possible if the zoning is R2. If it was R1, it would be something between 45 and 50 lots. So those are the 4 amendments, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council? Okay, seeing no questions from council, is there anyone from the public who would like to ask Mr. Anderson questions or make a comment on any of the 4 items?
Question on your last comment about so is it proposal that it would only be R1 versus R2?
Normally, it has to be one or the other. So this is for the whole property to be rezoned R2. The property that's already been subdivided off where the houses are being built, that was developed at R1 zoning. So they'll continue to keep that zoning.
Any other questions? Again, from the audience, if anyone has any questions or comment. Come and sign in, please. Tell us your name, who you are.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, for this opportunity. My name is Hari Pisati. I'm the owner of Mantage Realty Limited that owns the property at 12171 Omniplex Court. I'm also the owner of Omni Funplex, the business that currently occupies about 40% of the building. Um, just wanted to give you a couple of experiences trying to lease the property, the rest of the property. Uh, we've done everything that we could to lease the property to several types of businesses, whether it's a retail business, whether it's office. We have hired very well-known realtors. Currently, it's being represented by JLL, one of the, I guess it's probably one of the world's biggest agency. Everybody has come back and said that the property is very difficult for retail use. For the reasons that it's situated in the back, for the economic reasons that, the shift to online commerce, and most recently COVID, right? So the, traffic to existing retail properties has gone down, and practically, the realtors told me that there is zero chance of you leasing this to any retail or office, because office properties, so there's so much vacancy out there that this is not going to happen. So that's when we started looking at, what are the uses that that we could use the property for, but more importantly, what could add value to the city, right? So when we looked at that, the city, when we've done some research, some demand analysis, and the city of Forest Park would what we found out that city of Forest Park would greatly benefit from the climate controlled indoor storage. Currently, there is no option for the citizens. And so we looked at that and we said, it's not going to be a regular climate control self-storage indoor. We're going to make it really beautiful too. So with high quality materials, high quality development, very similar to what we have done with Omni Funplex. Not sure if you guys have been there, but we've developed that into a very clean, very nice, very family-friendly facility where the families of City of Forest Park and the neighborhoods, they actually come in and then have fun. Lots of kids, lots of enthusiasm. So we would be keeping that in mind, and then we want to develop this property into self-storage with high quality materials, very highly secure property that the citizens of City of Forest Park and local neighborhoods can confidently come in, store their valuables safely, securely, with full access. So that's our goal. I think this adds a lot of value to the citizens of City of Forest Park and the neighborhoods, but and also it sustains the property. It sustains the property. It sustains the rest of the business, Omni Funplex. I think it's a very good value addition to the overall Omniplex development. So just want to share my thoughts there, and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the issue?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I've been to Omni Funplex, and actually it's a really fun facility, so I do appreciate you bringing that investment to Forest Park. I do want to know, with a self-storage facility, do you have any, you said you did a market research, and that was kind of one of the uses. Is there any other use for that besides self-storage facility? And in addition to that, for self-storage, do you have any idea about the number of employees that this would require to maintain it? And is it going to be part-time, full-time, or any of those numbers that you provide?
Yeah, so we've done, let me address the employment first. So we're looking at 3 full-time employees and 4 part-time employees. That will cover the shift because this is going to be a 24-hour access facility. However, the staffing will be available to take care of the citizens in person during the daytime. From a demand analysis, there are certain metrics I'll be happy to share. in terms of the the citizens, the residents within the 3-mile radius and the 5-mile radius. And the analysis showed that within the 3-mile radius, there is actually shortage of indoor climate control self-storage. Within 5 miles, there are certain other facilities that come into play, but within 3 miles, there is a need. And so we looked at the demand and also the access to the facility itself. There are certain self-storage facilities that are inside, not very, relatively less accessible, considering that this is at a,
Okay, any other questions? Anybody else to address the issues or questions on the public hearing issues?
I think perhaps I missed it. I apologize. And by the way, yes, you have a very fun place. It's a lot of
Thank
fun.
you.
Many ripped pants on those trampolines, and my son bowled there with the school. So, but the question I have, and I think I missed it, is: did you say that you were going to be the owner of the storage facility, or
Yes.
that you had been people had been requesting information?
Yeah,
on the
there were.
property sometime, and then
There were other investors that wanted to do this, so we looked at the option of leasing and all that. But I believe that if I develop it, I would probably do more justice. And then I have Omnifunplex right there, and it just made sense for me to take that project. And also one of the things is city has been very supportive and very appreciative to the city, the police department, and everybody makes it a very enjoyable experience.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from the audience want to address either of these issues? Seeing no one come forward.
Yes. My name is,
Tell us who you are and where you live, please.
excuse me.
Tell us who you are and where you sign in, please.
Yeah, my name is Jimmy McCrae. I'm a resident at 11942 Winston Circle in Forest Park. I think that's all. I'd like to speak just a minute on the short-term rental issue. I think this is a topic that's been discussed a lot and has brought a lot of angst to the community. I think we, instead of looking to prohibit the use of short-term rentals, I think we should rethink how we are implementing the short-term rental process. I know we've had, maybe 3 or 4 situations where there have been issues with short-term rentals, and those were, I believe, by individuals that had the zeal, saw an opportunity that was coming, that was being vetted by the city, and they jumped the gun. And didn't understand the rules, the regulations, the limitations, so on and so forth, that the city was seeking to place upon short-term rentals, and may not have had any experience in short-term rentals at all. Okay? But that gave us the opportunity to look at this as a city council, the planning committee, so on and so forth, to take a look at and determine what things need to be in place to make this business opportunity, or whatever the case might be, a successful opportunity for investors and homeowners in the city of Forest Park. I believe we have opportunities to rethink this thing and look at it from the standpoint of, hey, if we're going to allow homeowners to rent out their property short term, we can look at it from the standpoint of, hey, if the law provides it, to tax these homeowners, you put a city tax on them, and hey, we bring in additional revenue from that standpoint. We also have all the rules and regulations from the city to penalize these homeowners when things don't go well. If folks have an event at their house, they have to apply for an event permit, and if they violate that, there's severe penalties, as a result of doing that. And there are other things in place to manage, how people operate their homes. We have daycare centers in homes. We have other types of businesses in homes. And those things are very successful. But yet, we look at this particular opportunity and we don't give it hardly any consideration to see one go through the process the correct way and give it the opportunity 2, 3, 6 months or whatever the case to see that the program will work and be successful in the city of Forest Park. There's hundreds and thousands of short-term rentals across the country, and thousands of them in Cincinnati that are doing extremely well. And if in this case, yes, there were 4, 3 or 4, however many, that failed, and they failed miserably. But do we give them, put the things in place to make these successful from a city standpoint, and give the folks the opportunity to come to the board, go through the correct process, understand what's required, and move forward. So I would be in favor of not denying short-term rentals, but rethinking how we do it and looking at it from an opportunity standpoint. How can the city be successful and gain from it, and how can a homeowner or an investor be successful implementing this in the city of Forest Park?
Okay, we're just about at the end of our time. Is there anybody else who would like to address council briefly?
Allie Armstrong, 719 Cranford. I wasn't going to speak today, but as you know, I was, unfortunately, an Airbnb popped up next to my house, no notification, and it operated for several months, and after receiving notifications from the city, complaints from neighbors, it kept on operating. The truth of the matter is, homeowners just don't want these de facto hotels operating next to them. It's just what it is. And to have an Airbnb go through the process and we use it as a test case, we've already done that. It doesn't work. We don't want it next to our homes, and that's not unreasonable. It's just not. There is zero benefit to having one of these pop up next to your house. Zero benefit. And that's a fact. I lived through it, and I'm still suffering the effects of it. And we need to stop. Yes, Airbnbs are operating in other cities, and the neighbors are complaining. But we just don't want it next to us. That's just what it is, and that's okay. Residential neighborhoods should not be under attack for the pursuit of profit. We just have to stop this.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing nobody else, no more comments?
I just have a question. What's the, for the ban and prohibited use, what's the consequence when we find an Airbnb that'll be operating after prohibited use is attached to?
Briefly, Mr. Anderson.
Air handler, I couldn't hear.
I said, what will be the consequence for an Airbnb or a short-term rental that could be operating after the prohibited use statute?
It's a zoning violation, which is a minor misdemeanor, and can be assessed per day. It's I send a violation notice, give them a small amount of time to comply, but basically what happened in the case that was just under discussion was we had various notice periods and meetings and appeal periods and additional meetings where that continued to operate sort of in a gray area without full authorization from the city, but with the city being stayed essentially from fully enforcing the zoning on that. So hopefully that answers the question. Okay.
Okay. We're done with our public hearing, so at this time I would adjourn the public hearing. And when I get the word from Waycross, we will go into our regularly scheduled meeting because we are behind. This meeting is adjourned. Call to order, City of Forest Park Council meeting number 1385, Monday, November 15th, 2021. Let's stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, call the roll, please.
Brown,
Here.
Clark, here. Herbie,
Here.
Holt,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Sylvester.
Here.
Let the record show that all council members are present. Item number 2 is minute. You would have received copies of the minutes. Are there any questions or additions to the corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, we will move to item number 3, presentations. This presentation is Business of the Month Award, Melanie's, a Guardian Pharmacy. Is there anybody from Melanie's? Thank you.
Good evening. The November business of the month is Melanie's A Guardian Pharmacy. The parade of new businesses coming into our community continues with our latest award winner. Melanie's A Guardian Pharmacy is a family-owned and operated commercial pharmacy and medical supplies company serving the greater Cincinnati area. Founded in 1936, they have been helping people live their healthiest and most independent lives for over 80 years. The company provides outstanding medical products and service at affordable prices, helping people make their lives as easy and healthy as possible. Melanie's offers a wide range of medical equipment, including but not limited to oxygen, mobility aids, and injury recovery equipment. Their pharmaceutical services include retail pharmacies, compounding, and long-term pharmaceutical care. The family recently made a significant investment to renovate 28,000 square feet at a building in the Kemper Meadow Business Center, bringing 34 full-time and 8 part-time positions to this location. The project also helps us retain another 26 full-time and 6 part-time positions from a related enterprise already housed in the building. In recognition of their significant investment in Forest Park, city officials are proud to recognize Melanie's A Guardian Pharmacy as our November 2021 Business of the Month. Accepting the award tonight is Company President, Mr. Tom Melanie. Congratulations, and thank you for choosing Forest Park.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you. The next item on the agenda is item number 4, communication from the public. This is the time for comments for citizens to comment on matters before council. There's questions of concern to them. When recognized, please come forward to the podium, give your name and address, and then state your comment or questions. Council meetings are tape recorded for ease of transcriptions. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
I'm Councilwoman Herbie. I live over on Decatur Court, and this is my last official council meeting. And at this stage in my life, staring at turning 75 in December, I'm making plans to pass on various treasures to family and friends. And as I retire from council, I wanted to make a gift of one treasure of mine to this city that's been my family home for 59 years in January. 18 years ago, in 2003, the state of Ohio celebrated its bicentennial. Among the many festivities the Bicentennial Committee planned, it called upon a Cincinnati area business, the Verdon Bell Company, to craft 88 bicentennial bells, one for each of Ohio's 88 counties. What's more, it challenged the company to forge each county's bell on site at a signature county event. The Verdon Bell Company rose to the challenge and crafted at least one, possibly more, mobile forges on flatbed trucks. The Hamilton County Bicentennial Bell was forged at a Tall Stacks celebration in the fall of 2003. I purchased an event ticket, enabling me to return on multiple days, and I watched with great fascination the forging of Hamilton County's Bicentennial Bell. That bell resides outside the main entrance of the Hamilton County Courthouse on Main Street. But the Verdon Bell Company also cast 10 numbered smaller replicas of the Hamilton County Bicentennial Bell, and I purchased one. I can think of no better gift to the city upon my retirement from council than to pass that bell on to the city to reside here as I leave council. So Mayor Johnson and City Manager Jones, can you come down here? This is the bell, and this is the authentication paperwork.
That's great.
Thank you.
Make sure we put that in a place of honor here.
Yo, turn around.
There is a mirror, so they can't see the bell. And Council, Mayor, can I add a couple extra comments? I don't want to make this a long thank you to all kinds of people. There'd be too many. But I want to thank two groups. One, of course, is the residents of Forest Park for returning me to council 4 times since my initial appointment to serve in 2005. It's been a privilege and an honor to have served this community in this way for the past 16 years. I'll continue to serve in other ways. And the other is, I want to single out a group of people to thank, and that's the staff members of this city, the past and present. And I'm going to get choked up. I've been very privileged to have worked with all of you. You serve with such distinction. There's never been a time when a question I posed went unanswered, or information that I've requested went unsupplied quickly, efficiently, and completely. And I am very thankful for your service to our city, and I'm very honored to have worked with you these 16 years. So thank you all so very much.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Moving on to, is there anyone else from the public? Seeing no one, we will go next to item number 5, reports of standing committees, the first of those being Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do not have a report at this time.
Dr. Moore, there there is an item on the agenda for you for the work session of the 22nd, grass cutting lanes. But before, do you have any others?
No, I do not.
At this time, I would say for the benefit of the rest of council, that we will probably not have a work session on the 22nd. If there's a need for one, we would probably postpone it to the following Monday, the 29th, which is a fifth Monday. Or we may do as we've done in the past and place those items on the agenda for the work session that would come prior to the beginning of a meeting, or the council meeting. Thank you, Dr. Moore. Next committee report is Human Resources. Vice Mayor Holt.
I do not have a report tonight, thank you.
Next report is Law Committee, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do not have a report at this time, nor do I have any items to add to the agenda. I do want to say really quickly, in the brief time that I've been on council, I'm honored to serve with Councilwoman Herbie. She has been just a wealth of knowledge and just a great friend in this time. So I'm really, really sad to see her go. I wanted her to run one more time, but you know, I know she'll continue to serve the city in other ways. But thank you for your service.
Thank you. Next report is Public Improvement and Facilities, Mr. Sylvester.
Mayor, I do not have a report, but maybe like to note to get a clarity on a process when it comes to service of tree cutting and, throughout the neighborhood. I did witness an event that took place. They really at my property, and they had no idea that that was going to happen. So I just like to be able to have reference to the process, so just have clarity on it. They did a nice job, but you know, it would have been nice for me to know that that was going to be happening.
Okay, we'll make note of that and when we get back to you. Thank you. Next committee report is Public Safety Committee, Councilwoman Clark.
I do not have a report at this time.
Next report is Ways and Means, Councilwoman Herbie.
No report at this time.
And the last committee report is Intergovernmental Relations and Communications Committee. That's mine. I have no report there. Would answer any questions if there are any. Moving on, we go to item number 6, the mayor's report. I will be brief. Just want to take this time to, as this will be my last official meeting as mayor and as council member. It has been a very long run for me. I've been on council for 20 years, and as of October 7th of this year, I've been mayor 14 years. Needless to say, there have been ups and downs. I only hope that I have brought something and given something to the citizens in the city of Forest Park, something positive. As was said earlier by Councilwoman Herbie, you know, the staff, current staff, past staff, has been outstanding. The city could not have moved forward and prospered and run without them. And secondly, the same can be said for all of the volunteers. I learned very early that Forest Park operates on its volunteers. There's no way that we could pay people to do all of the things that the volunteers have done for this city. And I want to let all of the volunteers and all of the staff people know that I appreciate all of the work that they've done, and I know all of the work that they will continue to do. And Forest Park will continue and move forward. Not that I'm counting, but I have exactly, counting today, I have 15 more days to go. And in those 15 days, I hope I don't do anything that would embarrass the city. And again, thanks to all of you and to the people up here. It's been great. And if you just continue to do what you're doing, it's going to continue to be great. Thank you, and And that would end my report. I'll answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you for your service.
Next report is the city manager's report. Mr. Jones.
Well, I'm going to keep it fairly short here today. I've got a couple of announcements. First, I want to let everyone know that the westbound ramp on I-275 at Winton Road is going to be closed Wednesday night. That's Wednesday, November 17th from 8 p.m. to 6 p.m. They will be redoing that ramp, and so if you have to get on there, there will be detour notices. But anyway, Wednesday night, 17th, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, that ramp will be closed. I want to thank Forest Chapel for a nice dinner. They invited us all and had a great event. They were celebrating their 65th anniversary, and it was a nice dinner, and we want to thank them for including us in their celebration. And congratulations to Dr. Kabamba and all of her, the members of her church. Let's see here. We submitted a grant request today from the state infrastructure, on the state infrastructure grant proposal that goes once a year, or once every 2 years, excuse me. In the event, we submitted the grant proposal for Central Park, and we'll be getting more information together on that. Last year, the last time it was awarded, we received $100,000, so we're hoping to get at least that amount this time. Get to the important stuff here. I do want to thank and echo Councilor Dan Herbie and Mayor Chuck Johnson, everything they've said, but on the behalf of the citizens and the staff, I want to thank them for their years of service, but in particular, I want to thank them for their leadership and the ground that they have sowed, I believe, will bear fruit. So thank you for everything you've done for this community and everything you will do into the future. So thank you very much.
Questions for the city manager? Hearing none, thank you. We'll now move to item number 8, other reports. The first of those being Law Director, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since the last council meeting, I've worked with the police department on their CALEA general orders that need to be approved for certification. I also reviewed some issues regarding our mayor's court fines and court fees. And I also provided to Mr. Jones a recent decision from our Court of Appeals here in Hamilton County that still allows sovereign immunity to apply when there's a damaged or a defective sidewalk issue. It's still considered within the city's governmental activities, and therefore the city is immune from any lawsuits related to condition of sidewalks, which is helpful for our insurance purposes and premiums we have to pay. But that's the end of my report, unless there are any questions.
Any questions for Law Director? Hearing none, we go to item B, report Clerk of Council, Ms. Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to report that resolution numbers 30-2021 through 31-2021 were posted as required. That concludes their report, but I also would like to say thank you. It's been a privilege and an honor to have served with you for these past, I think about 20 years actually, but so thank you for your patience and just for your leadership.
Thank you. Next item, there will be a motion to
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
go ahead.
A motion to suspend the rules requiring the reading in full of 2 separate days and read for the second time by title only ordinance number 19-2021 through 2121. These ordinances were read for the first time by title only at the 11-1-21 council meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and second that that we suspend the rules requiring the reading in full and read by title only ordinances numbers 19-2021 and 21 through 2021. Any discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on the motion to suspend?
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Herbie,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester.
Yes.
The motion to suspend passes 7-0. First item on the agenda, ordinance, item A, ordinance number 19-2021. Would the clerk please read that ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 19-2021. An ordinance amending Chapter 31, Rules of Council of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Forest Park.
From the chair, I would move the adoption of ordinance number 19-2021.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 19-2021. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will just say briefly that the council has used I believe 4 or 5 of its work sessions to review these rules. These rules had not, the last time they were changed at all, I believe, was 2002 or 3, and before that, probably back in the 70s. So obviously there were some things that needed to be changed in there, and that was done. So I would ask the council to adopt ordinance number 19-2021. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on ordinance 19-2021?
Clark,
Yes.
Herbie,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2021 passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is item B, ordinance number 20-2021. Would the clerk please read that ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 20-2021. An ordinance appointing John R. Wyckoff, attorney at law, as solicitor, law director, and prosecutor, and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for the provision of legal services.
Is there a motion?
I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 20-2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 20-2021. Is there any discussion?
None, thank you.
Hearing no discussion, would the clerk please call the roll on ordinance number 20-2021?
Herbie,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Ordinance 20-2021 passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 21-2021. The clerk please read this ordinance by title only.
Ordinance number 21-2021. An ordinance appointing Darren E. Nye, attorney at law, as public defender and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for the provision of legal services.
Is there a motion?
I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance number 21-2021. Is there any discussion?
No discussion, thank you.
Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on ordinance number 21-2021?
Holt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Herbie.
Yes.
Ordinance number 21-2021 passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is new business.
Thank you, Mr.
Is
Mayor.
there a motion? Go ahead.
I motion to suspend the rules requiring the reading in full on 2 separate days and read by title only, ordinance number 22-21 through 24-21. These ordinances were posted 6 days prior to the meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we suspend the rules requiring the reading in full on 2 separate days and read by title only ordinances number 22-2021 through 24-2021. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on the motion to suspend?
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes?
Herbie,
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
The motion to suspend passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is item A, ordinance number 22-2021. Would the clerk please read that ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 22-2021. The City Council of the City of Forest Park, Hamilton County, Ohio met in regular session on the 15th day of November 2021 at the office of said council with the following members present.
Which ordinance are you reading?
22,
Oops, I got it.
ordinance 22. This was
R22
at
is
the-
enterprise.
I'm sorry. Right. This was at the top of it.
Oh,
I don't know if you have the same thing I have.
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. An ordinance authorizing the City of Forest Park, Ohio to enter into a master equity lease agreement by and between Enterprise FM Trust and the City of Forest Park, Ohio to lease vehicles for the City of Forest Park and authorizing other documents in connection therewith and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion, Councilwoman Herbie?
I move adoption of ordinance number 22-2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance number 22-2021. Is there a discussion?
Several years ago, the city decided that leasing many of our city vehicles would be more cost-effective than purchasing all of our fleet. And so this ordinance is legislation of a policy change to use Enterprise as the city's advisor on most of our vehicle purchases. It also uses an open-ended operating lease rather than a capital lease approach, which means that the city will rent the vehicles from Enterprise for a specific time period and then turn the vehicles in for resale. This is going to be a benefit to the city in a couple of different ways. One of those is that the average vehicle age of our fleet will move from 7 years to no more than 4 years by 2025. And another benefit will be that Enterprise will advise us on the best time to dispose of vehicles, which will take advantage of the marketability of city-owned vehicles. And so I would urge adoption of this resolution.
Ordinance.
Ordinance. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on 22-2021?
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes?
Herbie,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Ordinance 22-2021 passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is item B, ordinance number 23-2021. Would the clerk please read that ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 23-2021. An ordinance amending Chapter 150 Land Use regarding public notices sent by letter.
This is the first reading. This item would be on the agenda at the next council meeting. We'll move then to item C, ordinance number 24-2021. Would the clerk please read that ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 24-2021. An ordinance amending Chapter 150 Land Usage to prohibit the short-term rental of residential property and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion, Dr. Moore?
Thank you. I move to adopt ordinance number 24-2021.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 24-2021. Is there any discussion, Dr. Moore?
Yes, just briefly, Mr. Anderson just gave us a little information on this ordinance, but basically the ordinance would make a simple change to zoning code, changing the zoning classification to short-term rental, which is Airbnbs, and vacation rental by owner from special exemption authorized by the commission to prohibit it. I urge adoption to ordinance 24-2021. It was posted 6 days prior to our meeting.
Any further discussion?
I just have a couple pieces. When we revisited this last year as well, I think Mr. McCray, kind of hit on it. One of the things that we talked about was looking at of course, the possibility of prohibiting it altogether. There are some recommendations that were put forth. I suggest a few in terms of restrictive measures like registering or notifying the city of the rental status, being present at the home while guests are there, agreeing to impose fines should the renter violate predetermined agreements. Owner must also be a permanent resident, and I think that in some respects those things have been looked into. But I think that in terms of actually doing our due diligence and putting forth a very full and formal protocols, like making sure that you have a notice that someone's going to be operating a rental like that beside your home, and even giving you the opportunity to say as much at that time prior to its onset, is something that we need to consider and expand on. The other concern would be in terms of the misdemeanor dollar amounts in zoning. Those are, I think, roughly under somewhere around $150, and I understand that they would accumulate. But I think if we couch that beside perhaps an economic value that the city could even receive in terms of the fees for registration, taxes, additional taxes on those facilities, and then whatever else could be tacked onto that, those will certainly outweigh the zoning violations if they operate without approval, so to speak. And so I think that there are a few more elements that could be considered in restrictive measures that we could roll out. That way we can see somewhat of a win-win for both investors and occupants in the city.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on ordinance,
I think this particular issue have been discussed in several of our work sessions, if I'm
Yes.
correct.
We had a public hearing on it.
And so I think there was plenty, thank you for your comments, but I think there was plenty of opportunity to bring that issue up in our work sessions. But thank you for your comment.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on 24-2021?
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
No.
Clark,
No?
Herbie,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-2021 passes 5-2. Next item on the agenda is a motion.
Yes, I motion to suspend the rules reading, requiring the reading in full and read resolutions number 32-2021 through 34-2021 by title only. These resolutions were posted 6 days prior to the meeting.
Second?
Been moved and seconded that we suspend the rules requiring the reading in full and read resolutions number 32-2021 through 34-2021 by title only. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on the motion to suspend?
Brown,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Herbie,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester.
Yes.
Motion to suspend passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is item D, resolution number 32-2021. Would the clerk please read this resolution by title only?
Resolution number 32-2021. A resolution consenting to the execution of a redevelopment incentive agreement between Surgery Health Solutions and the City of Forest Park, Ohio.
Is there a motion, Councilwoman Herbie?
I move adoption of resolution number 32-2021.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 32-2021. Is there any discussion?
Yes, this project involves a fast-growing company in the healthcare industry, Surgery Health Solutions, which is a provider of high-quality sterile medical products, services, and solutions. Earlier this year, the city worked with our partners at Ready Cincinnati and Jobs Ohio to help the company secure an Ohio Inclusion Grant. And as a result of this, the company was able to expand its operations, opening its doors for future growth. And because of this success, they now face an immediate need for new equipment. Because this minority-owned business operates in an industry that we've identified as a target of our redevelopment program, staff is recommending a modest redevelopment grant to help them purchase needed equipment. And this would be a recommended $10,000 redevelopment grant to help them facilitate this project, and I'd urge adoption of the resolution.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk call the roll on 32-2021?
Clark,
Yes.
Herbie,
Yes?
Holt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Resolution 32-2021 passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is item E. Resolution number 33-2021. Would the clerk please read that resolution by title only?
Resolution number 33-2021, a resolution consenting to the execution of a redevelopment incentive agreement between Hillman Solutions Corp. And the city of Forest Park, Ohio.
A motion, Councilwoman Herbie.
Yes, I move adoption of resolution number 33-2021.
Second.
Moved and second that we adopt resolution 33-2021. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Yes, one of the key components of our comprehensive economic development strategy is to redevelop vacant properties in targeted areas of our community. Earlier this year, we identified a property in the Kemper Meadow Business Center that would soon be vacant. And working with a local developer, we started negotiations with a growing company in Greater Cincinnati to bring their corporate headquarters out to this location. The company would invest close to $5 million on the project, entering into a 7-year lease and bringing approximately 300 jobs with a payroll of $25 million annually to the community. Based on the city's 1.5% earnings tax, this payroll would create more than $350,000 in new annual revenue for our city. As is the case with many projects this size, an incentive is required to make our property competitive with others under consideration. And because this project fulfills a number of the goals associated with our economic development strategy, staff is recommending a $250,000 redevelopment grant payable in 2 equal installments, consistent with past practice for this incentive program. By entering this, we create new revenue stream for the city from day one, and more important, bring a fast-growing and prominent member of the Greater Cincinnati business community to Forest Park. And so I'd urge adoption of this resolution.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on 33-2021?
Herbie,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark.
Resolution 33-2021 passes 7-0. Next item is item F, resolution 34-2021. Clerk, please read that resolution by title only.
Resolution number 34-2021, solid waste and recycling collection service fee increases for the city of Forest Park, Ohio for the period of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022.
Is there a motion, Councilman Herbie?
Yes, I would move adoption of resolution number 34-2021.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 34-2021. Is there a discussion?
Yeah, very briefly, the recommendation is to increase the full service from $19 a month to $19.50, and the Echo tier service from $14 to $14.50. And actually, for most of the service fees in this program, this is actually still less than it was when we initiated this program a number of years ago. The only thing that is above where it was several years ago is the full service fee. But that is the only place where this is effective. So I would urge adoption of this resolution.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on 34-2021?
Holt,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark. Yes. Herbie.
Yes.
Resolution 34, 2021 passes 7-0. Next item is item G, a motion, Councilwoman Holt.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to appoint the following individuals to their respective board commissions. Alberta Davis, Beautification Commission, expiring 11/30/2024. Beverly Moore, Beautification Commission, expiring 11/30/2024. Robin Smith, Beautification Commission, expiring 11/30/2024. William Howard II, Beautification Commission, expiring 11/30/2024. Ray Hodges, Charter Review Committee, expiring 11/30/2026. Johnny Houston, Civil Service Commission, expiring 11/30/2024. Ed Miners, Economic Development Commission, expiring 11/30/2024. Teresa Rodriguez, Environmental Wellness Board of Directors, expiring 11/30/24. Dave Aronson, Planning Commission, expiring 11/30/2026. Eloise Richardson, Recreation Commission, expiring 11/30/2024. Billy Joe Rice, Recreation Commission, expiring 11/30/24. And Kathy Gray, Recreation Commission, expiring 11/30/24. And I would like to say we really appreciate the volunteers for the boards and commissions.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
It's been moved and second that we adopt this motion that appoints the individuals to the various boards and commissions. Is there any discussion?
I said it out of order, but I just want to say we really appreciate the volunteerism for the city and their willingness to come back year after year and volunteer. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is item H, a motion, Councilwoman Herbie.
I would move to receive the general fund summary report as contained in the departmental reports.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we receive the general fund summary report as contained in the departmental report. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda, item I, a motion, Councilwoman Herbie.
I would move to convene an executive session to discuss the possible sale of real estate.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we convene an executive session to discuss the possible sale of real estate. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on the motion to convene into executive session?
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Clark. Herbie,
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
The motion to convene an executive session passes 7-0. There will be no official business will take place during the executive work session, and we will come back. A motion will be made to adjourn the executive session and reconvene into the regular council meeting. With that, we are adjourned into the executive session, which will be upstairs in 3B.